Hello and welcome back to Abs Talks Ball. It's about time we spoke about the elephant in the room in the Manchester United fan base. For me, it's been a tough time, if I'm being honest, scrolling on Twitter, having to watch games and move on with the footballing life. Coming to the reality that it's probably the end of the road. Although we've cut, I know Cam sang. See you again. To the end of the road. Still I can't let you go. Rashford, it's been tough. This wasn't how the story was supposed to end, Marcus. It was supposed to be you retiring here, being a one-club man. I'd be lying if I said I didn't know that this day would come, but it doesn't make it any easier. And I think I speak for a section of the Man United fan base that really feels this pain. Listen, I'm sure a lot of people are going to be talking about how poorly he's performed on the pitch, his obvious lack of application, his bad performances, his off-the-pitch antics, all of which are valid criticisms of Marcus Rashford. Doesn't make it hurt any less. It still hurts now. The fact that Rashford, it seems as though the story ends for him at Manchester United. What makes me say that, of course, it started with him being dropped from the squad. I spoke about this on my last United episode, about him being dropped from the squad totally. And that was obviously a big decision from Ruben Amorim, and he was vindicated by that decision. But what that led to is Rashford had an interview. I don't think it was a scheduled interview. It was scheduled to go to his local school and give out presents for the holidays to the kids there. And Henry Winter also joined him. I don't know if that was impromptu, if it was decided by Rashford and his team. But yeah, he spoke quite open and candidly about his thoughts on the situation at Manchester United and said that he is looking forward to a new challenge. Ruben Amorim then responds in the press conference today by saying, the new challenge is at Manchester United, brother. This is a new challenge that we are all embarking on. But let's discuss this Marcus Rashford situation. Obviously, the interview was, as we spoke about, him being candid and open about how he doesn't believe his career is over. He believes that there's another half of his career still to go. That he believes that he hasn't hit the peak or some achievements that he has always planned and dreamed to believe and that he'd achieve, right? But with Ruben Amorim's reaction to this, it seems as though that interview was probably not in Manchester United's plans. I don't think they planned for him to do this. Whether or not they wanted to sell him in the January or the summer, they didn't expect Rashford to come out and come with this stance. From a financial perspective, it probably takes a bit of leverage away from Manchester United and probably reduces the asking price, because this is a player now who's clearly accepted the reality that he will leave the club. From an emotional standpoint, it was very tough for me as someone who saw Rashford when he was a kid start and play for Man United and score that brace against Midtjylland, score that brace against Arsenal, score at the Etihad and become an established player for the club, being someone that's carried the club at times. It didn't make it any easier to hear it. Yeah, his time at United was volatile, I think is a fair word to use. It was inconsistent. That can't be a lie. I think it was the first player since Wayne Rooney to get 20 goals back-to-back in back-to-back seasons. I think that was under Ole and then maybe Ten Hag one of the years. And obviously that was him. It felt as though, okay, if you can go to the next level now, you might be the answer for Manchester United in attack. That hasn't happened. That's the reality situation. And he has performed at a very poor level in terms of application and returns for a while now. And he has seasons like this, like a hot and cold player. When he's hot, he's very hot. And at one point under Ten Hag, he was the form player in Europe, in the world, in fact. He was one of the form players in the world with the amount of goals that he was getting. I remember what comes and sticks out in my mind is that performance at the Camp Nou against Barcelona in the Europa League that we ended up beating Barcelona. He was so important for that. And that was probably some of his best time at Manchester United when he was really carrying the club. Obviously, if we're looking at, it's so tough for me even right now to even consider replacements or where he's going and what the future lies for Rashford, because it hurts at this point in time. If I'm still being honest, I'm still in pain about the fact that he is going to be leaving. But the show goes on. Manchester United must move on and will move on. Marcus Rashford isn't obviously someone I expected to leave. I expected him to retire here and be a one-club man. But alas, that is not the reality of the situation. His next club, where could Rashford go? First of all, we need to take some things into account. His salary that he's on, and the fact that I think he's still got 3 years left on his contract. So it is going to have to be a substantial fee for the sake of that, to compensate for that contract. But then begs the question, Who's going to take him on those wages? I personally don't believe and don't want to see him in the Premier League. The other big Premier League clubs are all rivals of Manchester United in some capacity. So I don't necessarily think that he would join a Liverpool or a City or an Arsenal. A Chelsea, potentially. I think it's more of a move that's obviously slightly more acceptable than others. I just don't see him doing it. I don't see him staying in England. So now the thought is, where does he go in Europe? I think what makes the most sense, probably because of their previous interest, is PSG. Obviously, the Qatari ownership were keen on Rashford a couple of seasons ago. I still think that obviously with what they're building, they've got Desiree Doué, they've got Barcola. They've built something there already. I think that in a previous iteration of their team, they would have had someone like Marcus Rashford. It'd be interesting to see if they come in for him again. Bayern Munich, potentially, could be an option for him. I think about Barcelona even. If they were to use him as that striker, maybe as a Lewandowski long-term replacement, because Barcelona create enough chances, that's for sure. Lamine Yamal would create enough chances. If he was there just to be on the last shoulder of opposition and running in behind and scoring goals, he could be used in that sense. Bayern, I think of the link up with Harry Kane potentially. There are options for him because we know that this is a player that when he's at his best and firing is one of the scariest players in Europe. That's just not a doubt. We've seen that before in Europe and we've seen it for Man United as well, right? We've seen him do it in the Champions League and in the league. Big games in the Premier League and also in the Champions League, the Parc des Princes always comes to mind. So it's not like his career is completely done. I just think that the options now and where he looks at right now, it's just, the question is, can a club, a manager, a situation, an environment revitalize Marcus Rashford's career? That is the main question right now, because evidently his boyhood club can't get a tone out of him. And that just seems to be what the reality is. Now, from the perspective of a Manchester United fan now, my message to Marcus Rashford is as such. You've done so much for the club that can't be denied. Not won a Premier League title, not of the status of obviously our legends, but for the good memories, we thank you for them because, you know, he gave some good memories. It feels so much more different when Rashford scores than when anyone else scores because he's one of our own. And that definitely resonates with me. I understand other fans might look at this a bit more cold-hearted. For me, it's not. It's an emotional time and it's an emotional decision that he obviously has to come to. If it is for the best interest of the club, which I think it could be, of course it could be. We could obviously move on and this could be a necessary, ruthless decision. And I've spoken so much about how ruthlessness is necessary in these next steps for Manchester United. Maybe this is a necessary decision, but it doesn't make it any easier. Thank you, Marcus Rashford. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. Don't forget to share, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time.